What's up? It is Sports Live on a Tuesday. Glad to have everybody along. As Titan Fox says in the YouTube chat, hit the like button, please, because we got to have that. And we're not going to go live until we got people hitting the like button there on YouTube. But welcome in on this Tuesday morning. Going to have a great show here on on a Tuesday. And all right, Din made me laugh out of the gates. He says there's already a few pieces on the bottom of the ocean because we're talking about the Titans' forgotten piece that will help them surprise or try to surprise the NFL this upcoming season. And so, all right, Den with a great comment out of the gates. I didn't even think about that, but the whole situation that happened last week with the ocean, and now here we are on this Tuesday. But Sam has his forgotten piece that he thinks will help the Titans take over or try to win the AFC South. And then we'll talk about what is the most underrated storyline of this Titans offseason, and then what is the most overhyped storyline of this Titans offseason as well. It's a little two-part show here on a Tuesday. Before we get to Tuesday Sports Trivia, Sam is Trivia Master today, so no worries. I'm not Trivia Master, so I will not ruin it. I do what I do best is answer questions, not ask them. Gonna have a good show here. Welcome in everybody on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Let's get this thing rolling, Sam.
Yep, let's do it here on a Tuesday morning. Happy to be here with you guys. Got a good conversation for you. And before we kick things off, make sure you share the show. If you're watching on Facebook, hit the share button in the bottom right corner. Send that all over the timelines of all of your friends on Facebook this morning. If you're watching on YouTube, take the YouTube link and go just like text it to a friend. Find a group chat, find a friend that's an NFL fan or a Titans fan in your life and send them that link or tweet it, whatever it is. Retweet us at A to Z Sports. Just share the love and spread the show. That's the best way to support and grow the A to Z Sports family as we get ready to kick things off here on a Tuesday.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome to A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter at A to Z Sports.com. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen. We are A to Z Sports, Nashville's on-demand sports talk network that goes live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time. And our sponsors do make it happen. Like Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process by seeing them in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans, get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans, better coverage rates and service at fbhp.com/ATOZ. The Aura app, keeping you safe online with our link, aura.com/ATOZ for a 2-week free trial to keep you safe online. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with locations in Murfreesboro, Franklin, and in Columbia. Check them out. Their website is KrebsKubota.com. So, Sam, we're talking today about the forgotten piece for the Tennessee Titans that can help them try to surprise the NFL overall. And then we'll talk about the most underrated storyline of the Titans offseason and overhyped storyline of the Titans offseason as well. But Sam, in kind of preparation for this conversation, there's been a lot of stuff that's happened so far this offseason for the Tennessee Titans. And it all began really in early December after John Robinson was fired as new GM. We already knew even before J-Rob was ousted that this offseason was going to be very fluid and very all over the place. And then Rand Carthon comes in. And so the new direction under new GM Rand Carthon, there was a mass veteran cutting that happened after the Super Bowl before free agency. And then Carthon signed, 6 free agents, if you want to call them 6 veteran free agents, that were typically short-term free agent signings. There were rumors about Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill being on the trade block. There's Kevin Byard drama with some potential trade rumors there, and also the pay cut ask, and then just potentially flat out cutting KB. Then that has not happened. And then to cap it all off with the drafting of Will Levis, 33rd overall in the NFL draft, trading up for another quarterback because of the Tannehill, Malik Willis situation overall. So a lot of things have happened, Sam, in this offseason. And, the perception, we bring it up several times, the perception of the Titans is that they are trying to either rebuild and also reset at the same time, trying to win games, but potentially would put themselves in purgatory by not just choosing. And I'll give I don't know if you guys heard this or what yesterday. Sean Henry, president of the Preds, went on 3HL yesterday and says, "I'm not going to mince words. We are rebuilding." So the Preds come out and say it flat out. We are rebuilding. The Titans are not saying that whatsoever. So there's a weird perception about this team around the league.
Well, respect to Sean Henry for doing that, because rebuild seems to be a bit of a buzzword around professional sports franchises, not something that you hear a ton of organizations admit and say. So yeah, I think that's awesome for him and for Preds fans that you're willing to say that. But I agree with you. I think the Titans, there's been all these storylines, right? Like all of these things that have kind of been capturing headlines, that have been topics of shows, that have been conversations amongst fans, that have really started to control the perception of who the Titans are in 2023. And while some of them were accurate, I do believe that the perception of the Titans as a whole is still probably a bit skewed. Zach and I were talking yesterday about how, and I think I mentioned this to you as well last week, I believe like the idea of the Titans having two players that are impactful in fantasy football hurts the national perception of them, of being like, oh, they have no weapons, so they must stink. And I think there's this misconception of how competitive the Titans actually are and how competitive the Titans can actually be. And I do think in a few certain areas, fans and media and everybody has their attention in the wrong place with this team. Everybody kind of likes to talk about the hot topic of a quarterback situation, of trade rumors, of, you know, a potential rebuild or what the future looks like. And we don't get focused enough on the present and the weapons and the assets that are here on both sides of the football. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today, is of these storylines that you see on your screen that have really been captivating Titans fans and the NFL as a whole. What is justified as being a topic of conversation? What do I think is being discussed a little bit too much? And what are we forgetting about this team? What do media and fans seem to easily forget about the Titans that might surprise people once we get into the season and games start, you know, having results to them?
Yeah, because the Titans open week 1 in New Orleans as an underdog. Like the New Orleans Saints weren't very good last year, and Derek Carr is their quarterback. And the Titans, have been an underdog on BetMGM and every other book that I've seen in week 1. Now, being on the road goes into that, but still, like the Titans have Tannehill and Derrick Henry back in a defense that's not your. I just find it interesting, right?
Well, you didn't see the show I did with Zach yesterday, so you're completely blind to this. So I'm just very curious. Where do you think the Titans rank in the NFL? And like, if you were power ranking the teams right now, one, where would you put them? And two, where would you estimate they are on a national power ranking?
Well, I did.
You did
see.
cheat?
I saw. I didn't cheat. I just saw the graphic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when I was going through and deleting the graphics to replace them this morning, I did see that they were 24th in Pro Football Focus's power rankings. I think that's, I think that's not like crazy. I do think late teens to 22, 18 to 22 is where I believe they should be.
Yeah, we both came in at 18 balance. So, I mean, this is why we have the conversation, though. Andre says we're an incomplete team, Sam. And Andre, I agree with you in a lot of ways. I think the Titans are incomplete in certain areas. And so for those reasons, some of these conversations are justified. And some of these conversations have a lot of validity to them and are topics that should surround this team. But I think we're missing some things here and there and potentially blowing some things out of proportion. So that's what we're talking about, is what is valid, what is not valid, and where is that fine line in the middle to acknowledge, hey, the Titans might be incomplete, but what are we missing?
Yeah. All right. So we've got Sam's forgotten piece. I am curious about where Sam's going to go. I'm in the dark. I have no idea what Sam's forgotten piece is going to be. So we'll get to that here in a second. But first, let me tell you guys all about Farm Bureau Health Plans. They can help you guys out, whatever your situation may be, with your health coverage, health, dental, vision, Farm Bureau Health Plans at fbhp.com/ATOZ is the link to hit up with. They've been serving Tennesseans across the entire state for now over 75 years. It's so easy to work with them. fbhp.com/ATOZ is the link to go to check them out there to get your coverage started, your path to saving some money and getting better coverage for your health, dental, and visions with Farm Bureau Health Plan. Zach's been doing this now for a year and a half. Crazy enough, a year and a half that Zach has saved 20% with his health coverage because of Farm Bureau Health Plans. And again, whatever your situation may be, growing family, large family, maybe you're a little more mature and you're trying to figure out that more expensive stage of your health coverage. Farm Bureau Health Plans does great with that. Maybe you're like Sam and maybe you're entering adulthood and try to figure out what to do with your health coverage after college graduation as you become a pro in anything. But Farm Bureau Health Plans is there for you. fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. You can get up to $1,000 back in the form of a bonus bet if your first bet doesn't win with BetMGM. I used BetMGM at Nashville Super Speedway on Sunday, and I won on Ross Chastain's victory, heading to victory lane. So I was very pumped up about that, watching the race live. Now I've got some money sitting in the BetMGM account that I'm looking to maybe put some MLB plays out there over the next few weeks here. So there are still sports going on just because the NFL and NBA have wrapped up. And if you're going to get involved with sports betting, do it on BetMGM, up to $1,000 back with that bonus code ATOZ Sports in the form of a bonus bet if your first bet doesn't win.
All right, A to Z Sports here live on this Tuesday. We're going through the forgotten piece for the Tennessee Titans as we're going to dive into the underrated and overhyped storylines for the offseason. But Sam, what is your forgotten piece for the Tennessee Titans as, you know, they try to surprise the NFL this upcoming season where the Titans want to compete for a division title, but the NFL across the board is not expecting that. So what is the Titans' forgotten piece?
Yeah, so we talk about all of these things. We talk about the free agent additions and Arden Key and Andre Dillard and Azeez Al-Shire and Sean Murphy-Bunting and what they could potentially bring if they're healthy and plugging in to this Titans team. We talk about the draft pick of Will Levis and what the future looks like with him, or what Tajay Spears looks like in the Titans offense, and all of these additions that Titans fans would like to believe will make this team more competitive in 2023 than they were last year. And somehow, both within the fan base and national media, I feel like we're forgetting about this guy. Harold Landry had 12 sacks, 75 tackles, 22 QB hits, 14 tackles for loss, made the Pro Bowl and played all 17 games in 2021 before tearing his ACL. Going into last season, missed the whole year. And I get it with the ACL, sometimes coming back, there's some reservations about what level you can potentially be at. Mm-hmm. But because he wasn't there at OTAs and minicamp, and we haven't really heard him speak yet, I think Titans fans and the football world is forgetting about Harold Landry. I think this is the forgotten piece of this Titans team, where when we start talking about where are the Titans compared to where they were last year, going into this season, and why they could be more or less competitive, we need to start talking about the Pro Bowl edge rusher, the Pro Bowl outside linebacker that they're adding back into their defense this year. This is such a big, massive player in this defense that we're getting back. Like we're going to be able to watch play football again. So the Titans getting Harold Landry back is such an underrated storyline to me, and he is the missing piece of this team that people aren't thinking about.
Well, I agree that everybody, or not everybody, I agree that the majority of conversations have forgotten Harold Landry and how good he was in 2021. But for me, I am trying to remove myself from high expectations in the first year after an ACL. I don't like doing that. I'm not saying you're doing that. I don't think you have to have high expectations
for Harold Landry to come back and have another double-digit sack season for the Titans. Like, I do think, I mean, would that be excellent? Yeah. Do I think he's capable of that? Absolutely, because, the track record is there. But I do agree with you. Setting that expectation for a guy returning from ACL in this first season might be a bit of an unrealistic expectation. But even if Harold Landry is a shell of what he was in 2021 and half as productive out there, I mean, I still think he's better than DeMarcus Walker was last season. I still
and DeMarcus Walker, like, well, here's the thing: is the Titans had to piece together a lot of their pass rush without Harold Landry. There was a comment that I saw. See if I can scroll back up because they were dead on asking me a question about it. Was asking me if I do think the Titans will finally monitor his snap count because of the ACL, because that was the conversation about Harold Landry for his entire career. Was Shane Bowen. I mean, there's countless times that Shane Bowen has been quoted at a podium saying, yeah, we got to make sure that we monitor Harold's snap count there. He's not out there 93% of the snaps and, getting worn out. And so now that he's coming off an ACL, what is the Titans' depth behind him, and how can they piece together the pass rush with Harold Landry not being, I don't think it's fair for Harold Landry to play 90% of the snaps like he did for the first several years of his career. So the Titans will still have to piece together the edge rush with Arden Key, who is also a first-time full-time starter in his career. And then who else? Like, still, like, there's no Bud, who was a part-time player. Danico Autry is a versatile inside, outside type guy, but he's 33 years old, 34 years old, one of the older guys on the roster. I still don't know. Rashad Weaver is, I think, at his best, needs to be a part-time player. So you're still having a group of volume guys that have to kind of put together the full picture.
I think you upgraded, though. I mean, I think Arden Key should be better than Bud Dupree was last season, especially
more available.
More available, and I mean, better. I mean, Bud injured playing was not as productive as we know Bud Dupree is capable of being on the field, but that's kind of where he's at this point in his career. And early indications from summer practices are that Arden Key is, impressing, and the Titans are very thrilled with the impact he has on that room and the energy. And, Devin points out, DeMarcus Walker had 7 sacks last season. Yes, I felt like, I don't know, maybe this is taboo to say, but I don't believe DeMarcus Walker's 7 sacks were an accurate reflection of his win rate and his success on the line. I think he benefited a lot from Jeff and Danico chasing guys into his lap a little bit.
Yeah, but yes, I agree, but he was also there to clean it up, right?
Fair.
And that's,
I felt like a lot of his sacks were kind of like,
but that's what a pass rush has to be. And like, I hate the analogy, but a pass rush needs to be a fishing net, right? Like that's how you have to do it. Of, the 4 or 5 guys that are going after the quarterback have to be a net to capture the quarterback. And so if Jeff or Autry or whoever is forcing the quarterback into that other defender, the other defender has to be there. And DeMarcus Walker was there.
I don't want that to be a knock on DeMarcus Walker too much. Like, I liked him. He was a great guy to talk to in the locker room. Happy he's over with my Bears now. I'm not complaining about that at all. But I do think it's not unrealistic to expect Harold Landry to be a better player this season than DeMarcus Walker was for the Titans last season. You still have Rashad Weaver over there. You brought in Arden Key. Like, I'm just surprised at how little we've heard about how impactful this might be. I'll remind you, Austin, there was a stretch of games in the middle of last season that the Titans pass rush was non-existent. Mm-hmm. Like, we're sitting back there being like, anybody get after the quarterback. I believe, I remember thinking that during the Broncos game with Russell Wilson, it felt like he had all day to throw back there and still didn't take advantage. But the Titans' bread and butter on defense, when they've been an elite defense, when they've won games and been one of the better teams in the AFC, has been when their front four gets after the QB, causes opposing offenses to speed up. That helps out their secondary. It makes everything click. So Harold Landry could be an X factor to this team's success this year because he could be one of the pieces that makes this defense go from good to elite. And I'm just surprised we're not talking more about what the expectations for Harold should be and where the Titans could be if Harold is good.
Yeah, look, I just think we have to see him first, right? Like we have not seen number 58 out at all, like with anybody's eyes. Like we haven't laid eyes on him the entire offseason. And so we'll have to kind of see what he looks like. I would guess that when he's at training camp, training camp starts, I want to say Harold tore his ACL. I don't know why I remember this. August 30th. August 30th, that I feel like is that ACL tear. It was a very interesting day. Sam, you would probably remember this. It was a day that the practice was closed to the media because it was after the preseason had wrapped, after roster cuts had happened, I believe. And practice was closed to the media. You guys, as media, talked to Mike Vrabel, who is in like the worst mood ever. Right?
He was snappy. It was weird, it was right? Wednesday.
Yep. And you guys, and I remember talking to you afterwards and like, yeah, he was kind of strange. Like, I don't even know what's something. And then the next day or a few hours after that, Harold Landry tears his ACL, goes on IR. I'm like, that's it. Right. And so
Mike knew what happened during practice a couple hours before.
Exactly. And couldn't talk about it. Right. So we'll have to see, but training camp starts. It'll be 11 months from that injury occurring. And so we'll see where Harold Landry's at. 11 months is enough time for the most part for a player with that injury to be back on the practice field to an extent. So we'll kind of see what that is. Harold Landry is also not a social media guy. He's on Instagram. I know that because he watches a lot of our IG stories and I see that data, but he's also not somebody who's posting workout videos ever on his Instagram story like a lot of players do these days. So Sam, your forgotten piece is Harold Landry. I think that's a good one. So let's ask the question and open up everything else to the audience today. What's the most underrated storyline of the Titans offseason? You guys can take this a bunch of different directions. What is the most underrated storyline of the Titans offseason? Because here are the top storylines that have been discussed this entire offseason, the last 6+ months. New direction under Iran, mass veteran cuts, short-term free agents, Henry and Tannehill trade rumors, Kevin Byard drama, and the Will Levis draft pick. That is probably the top 6 storylines for the Tennessee Titans this offseason. So what is the most underrated storyline for the Titans this offseason? But first, let me tell you guys about our friends at Krebs Kubota. They are a elite Kubota dealer in Middle Tennessee with 3 locations, and they've been serving Middle Tennesseans for 18+ years in Franklin, Columbia, and in Murfreesboro. KrebsKubota.com is their website. Kubota is important. It's the best equipment in the entire industry. And having an elite Kubota dealer like Krebs means you have access to the best warranties in the equipment industry with the Kubota line. And they've got everything you need, big or small projects around your property. Kubota's got it. And Krebs delivers the customer satisfaction and the relationship side of what this is about. Because if you're using any type of equipment like this on the planet Earth on your property, things are going to break. Things are going to go wrong. You have to know who can help you out because you're using a lot of power and a lot of force right there with your equipment. So Krebs Kubota is where to go. Once again, an elite Kubota dealer serving Middle Tennessee for over 18 years with 3 great locations in Murfreesboro, Columbia, and in Franklin. Online, KrebsKubota.com.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. You can make every game and every play mean more with BetMGM when you use the bonus code ATOZ Sports on the BetMGM app and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. The best way to do sports betting is when the risk is free. That's what you can get with BetMGM. You use that bonus code ATOZ Sports and place your first wager. And even if you lose, you don't, because you get your money back in the form of a bonus bet and get another chance at things. So that's why we love BetMGM. It's why they're the king of sportsbooks. Visit BetMGM.com and the BetMGM app.
All right, A to Z Sports here live on a Tuesday. We're asking now, what's the most underrated storyline of the Titans offseason? Later on in the show, we'll talk about overhyped storyline. But Sam, I'll send you to the chat because there's a lot of good conversations and there's storylines that I completely forgot about that are being mentioned in the chat on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So you guys on top of it this morning. So Sam, I'll send you to the chat to see what the people are talking about.
Dave thinks it is the kicker battle for the Titans right now. Andre says it's Vrabel's stubbornness. Steven says Will Levis still has not signed his rookie contract yet. So the Titans still have not agreed to
that is interesting. Now, they have a month to do it, right? He doesn't have to sign until July 25th. That's kind of the deadline. That's when they were supposed to report for training camp. So they got a month to do it. But that is interesting there, Steven. Continue,
sorry. Getting Harold Landry back and adding Arden Key to an already strong pass rush, says Balthazar. Drafting a guard so high, says Ed. Believes Skaronski's our guard. He is working at left guard right now. Harold Landry's return from Uri. Amar says Tannehill having a comeback season after last year. Let's see. Steven says Rand's plan to get us through the storm. J-Rob left us. Scary Harry says ditching Todd Downing. Grim Jim says it's the kicker. So does Bork. Davidson says, can Charles London and Tim Kelly turn this offense around? Nick also on kicker. Mr. Jones says it's Malik outperforming Levis. Brooks says the defensive additions have gone a bit quiet. No one is talking about the new Tim Kelly offense, a new offensive coordinator with a new game plan. Tannehill having to play for his job and earning an extension with an actual play caller, the offensive scheme. We're not going to run, pass, punt. Clearly, they've seen analytics on first downs. If we know, they have to know. Well, they didn't change anything, and they knew last year. So, hopefully, Kevin. Kevin Jones says Ben Jones was released. He's underrated if he's healthy with all the new linemen. Let's see. Has to be the health concerns. The elephant still has not left the room. We've got some good stuff here. We've got Hopkins, Kyle Phillips progress. We also are saying the underrated. DeAndre Hopkins cannot be an underrated storyline when he's capturing every Titans headline right now. Which ones on here were you did you notice that
there was one? There was one that I was like, oh my God, I completely forgot about that. And it is very underrated. I don't know how big of a deal it would be, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. And Jody brings us up on Facebook. Jim Schwartz being gone, huge loss, turned the worst third down defense into a great all-around defense. So that is something. Jim Schwartz is no longer a senior defensive analyst for the Tennessee Titans or whatever the hell his official title was to help out Shane Bowen. But we do know that when Shane Bowen was in his first year as a defensive play caller in 2020, the Tennessee Titans were historically bad on third downs. And now he did not have the defensive coordinator nameplate on his office. He was still the outside linebackers coach and called plays. That was part of the problem. But at the same time that Shane Bowen got full power as D coordinator, Jim Schwartz entered as a massive help for Shane Bowen to do that. And the Titans defense the last two seasons has been so much more improved than where they were in 2020. And now Jim Schwartz is gone. He got himself another D coordinator job. Mike Vrabel mentioned that he was also going through some medical and health situations. So he was not able to put in the amount of effort that it takes to be an actual coordinator, which is why he was in the role that he was. And so it's just something to monitor. And Jody, I like it, but that's not my answer. I think underrated is always an interesting word to use in a conversation like this, because it always depends on what your rated level is on the situation.
Yeah.
And I think I do think the change of offensive coordinator is a very notable move. And it is something that a lot of people are talking about, but I do think it is still, for me, the most underrated storyline because of how bad Todd Downing was. And if Todd Downing is that bad, and if Tim Kelly is middle of the road, that is a massive difference. Massive difference. And Sam, you're a part, obviously, as our Titans reporter. Our Titans article chat message group, the last several days, I don't know if you've noticed this, because nothing new has happened in 6 months in the NFL, right? On the field. But how many times have we seen new threads, Warren Sharp stats, other people dropping in analytics of the Titans offense, and What was the number from yesterday? That I think you wrote the article yesterday.
I believe it was 22% of drives in the second half with the Titans scored on 22% of their drives when trailing in the second half last season. That was the worst mark in the NFL.
Yeah.
So,
and then the week before, Warren Sharp also had the quote that Todd Downing felt like a double agent while he was ruining the Titans offense. So like, that's why I still think that that's the most underrated storyline.
Can I just say, by the way,
what?
Hard Knocks, NFL, probably, I think, going to force the Jets to do it. That will be electric watching Todd Downing and Keith Carter on my television screen for Hard Knocks.
I haven't watched Hard Knocks in a few years.
Oh,
Maybe
I
I'll have
love
to get
Hard
back to it
Knocks,
just out
man.
of spite. So look, like Todd Downing, nice guy. We've been over this. I don't have any hopes for his career failing moving forward. I just think that Todd Downing might be a really good football coach, but we know now with the Raiders and the Titans, he is a flat out awful, objectively bad play caller, and it doesn't have anything to do with the scheme. It's like the scheme might have been fine. We know because of what Greg Cosell said about pass game concepts after the Bengals loss and everything there that I've been blowing up for a year and a half now. The pass game concepts were middle school to high school, right? They could have been a lot more developed and a lot better. But I think the play calling feel, the rhythm, the lack of natural ability that Todd Downing did not have is what ruined this team the last couple of years in some major spots. Now, they were good in the red zone in scoring. That's because they have Derrick Henry, right? When you know that you're really close from, if you're trying to demolition a house and you're like, man, we're almost there. All we need is like this big thing to blow it up. Oh, Derrick Henry, boom, house is flattened. So that's why they were good at scoring in the red zone. But when you look at the double agent comments, all the running into 9-man boxes on early downs and lack of early down success to put you in a historically high volume of third and longs. Now your quarterback's getting sacked and now your quarterback's hurt and now you're losing 7 in a row. All of these things go together where if Tim Kelly is average, if Tim Kelly is middle of the road as a play caller, the Tennessee Titans are way better as an offense as a whole compared to where they were the last couple of years. So that's why, it's my underrated because I think it's going to have that big of an impact.
Yeah, it's interesting because I never would have thought of that as an underrated topic or storyline whatsoever. I mean, I feel like this is one of the main 2 or 3 Titans topics heading into this season that everybody's talking about.
Sorry to cut you off. You know why I think it's underrated? And I didn't do this intentionally because me and you came up with a list. You know what? We forgot.
We didn't put Tim Kelly on there.
We didn't put him on there. Like that's kind of what I'm saying. Here's 6, right? And I was not doing this on purpose. It didn't even click to me until I was about to answer the question with Tim Kelly. And I was like, oh my God, we forgot. Is that there are 6 here. And these 6 are very talked about. But Tim Kelly, 7th. And I think Tim Kelly is going to have a bigger difference than Will Levis. I think the Kevin Byard stuff is over. I think the mass veteran cuts were going to be made, whether John Robinson was the GM or Rand Carthon or Ryan Cowden, whoever. Those guys were going to get cut. And so I think Tim Kelly is pretty high. If we're going to say which of these 6 plus Tim Kelly, which of those 7 are going to have the biggest impact this upcoming season, man, I think Tim Kelly's pretty high up in that ranking of 7.
Yeah. I mean, what he does will be more impactful than a lot of the players on the roster. His actions are going to be, like I said, I never would have thought of it that way or categorized it that way because of how many people I feel like are talking about it and how this is a main story. I think Todd Downing was such a big storyline last season that it's hard for me to view moving on from Todd Downing as underrated. But yeah, I think you explained it and justified it pretty well here of like, this might have a bigger impact than anybody's really able to quantify or account for right now. Like it's hard to understand just how bad Todd Downing was until you see somebody else do it. And so that's what we're going to get a sense for pretty early on in the season was, because there were times that I had to look at and say, I don't know if we can blame Todd Downing for this one at all because he's got no receivers, he's got no offensive line, and how much can you really draw up or scheme up? And maybe that was
True.
right. Maybe that was wrong. We're kind of going to find out here with Tim Kelly early on how creative and how much good play calling can change the complexion of an offense despite the roster and personnel that are in it.
Yeah, and so I don't want this to continue to be a dump on Downing situation here on a June 27th. It's been a long time since he was fired, right, Sam? But I don't disagree with what you're saying. There were times last year, like that there's nothing Todd Downing can do in situations like that when Dennis Daly is getting beat in 0.3 seconds and Tannehill or whoever the quarterback is down. The routes haven't developed, but there is a figure it out, like the big cat gif of figure it out,
Oh yeah,
do something. And all of that, right? And part of me kind of feels like at some point during the 7-game losing streak, at some point there was a Mike Vrabel white flag of Todd Downing's gone after the year, and there's nothing we can do right here. So let's just get the hell out of here, and get the hell out of this season, be done with it. And I think part of me was validated with that thought when I saw the lightness of Mike Vrabel at the season and in press conference, where his shoulders felt like 3 inches higher because the weight of the year was done, and he fired Downing like 8 hours after that presser, or maybe not even that long. So again, that was mine. Sam, is your underrated storyline? Is it the forgotten piece in Harold Landry, or did you have something else too?
I do think it's Harold Landry as my my underrated storyline. I think deserves more buzz. I think there were some good suggestions in the chat though. Like a couple people brought up kicker, which I also believe Randy Bullock's, I don't want to say incompetence, but his
Limitations.
his limitations, I think, were an underrated weakness of the Titans over the last few years in terms of his range. I did a couple articles and did some research on, I believe the number was 11 times this past season the Titans punted with the ball in opposing territory. And that kind of shows you the difference between the Titans and these teams that have Matt Gay, Justin Tucker like type of legs, kicking for them. So his limitations were a big storyline. If the Titans have a good one that has some better range, how might that help their offense, especially late in games, and help Ryan Tannehill have to do less to score. So I think that's a big storyline. Chris is all about the no wide receivers, but I think that is the number one discussed storyline. And then this is interesting to me too from Kayla. She asked a question about Jason Hoteling, the new offensive line coach, because the offensive line, I think, is heavily discussed in the personnel, but the coaching has not been. And so to answer this question, she says, Austin or Sam, what are your thoughts on the new O-line coach? Seems like a pretty big letdown hire to me. What do you know about him? I agree that, it being an internal move was probably a bit underwhelming for Titans fans when they saw how bad the offensive line was. It's really hard to tell the impact that he's having until some pads come on, until you start to see some of the technique and how good the offensive line is performing. What I will say about, I believe they're calling him Haas, or Hoff, or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know, because Haas was the equipment manager who they did not renew the contract of. So there is no other Haas. There's one Haas with the Titans, and they got rid of him, which I think.
Forgot what the nickname is in the room. I just call him by his name. But
Yes.
But what I do know about Hoteling right now is that the players love him, and that's a big change of pace from Keith Carter. The vibe that every Titans player, it started with Taylor Lewan.
Yep. A few
years ago, and then like with some beef there, after he gets cut, he goes on Bussin' with the Boys. He's a little bit more loosey-goosey with some of the information around the team and his feelings towards the organization. And I remember Taylor saying, oh, Keith, wow, glad he landed on his feet somewhere. But there seemed to be a lot of animosity from Taylor to Keith, and that has been kind of repeated by Aaron Brewer. Yeah. That's kind of been repeated by everybody on this Titans O-line that we've spoken to about how, it was Keith's way or the highway. He didn't really let any player have their say. not a player's coach, not very well liked or respected. Guys are kind of refreshed to see him gone. And every vibe I've gotten about hoteling so far is that is not the case, is that he is very collaborative. The vibe has shifted in this O-line room. So hopefully that's good for something, but that's the early indication I've gotten.
Well, and my answer to Kayla's question is literally addition by subtraction.
Yeah. Right.
As simple as that.
I do think Keith Carter was, I don't want to necessarily say he was a bad offensive line coach. He was not the right fit for the personalities they had in that room over the last few years. And I think some of the struggles and the injuries that hit them really started to wear thin on these guys with his abrasive coaching style. And that being gone is a positive. So hopefully that has an impact. I mean, we'll find out, right? We'll see. It's also a new group. So
real quick, Kayla Gillenwater, I want to ask, is this Matthew or is this Kayla? Because I don't know if there's many Gillenwaters walking around that are Titans fans, but just curious about that, who that might be. All right, Sam, let's go ahead and flip to the other side of this. What's the most overhyped storyline of the Titans offseason? What's the most overhyped storyline of the Titans offseason? But first, let me tell you about something that's not overhyped whatsoever. That is the Aura app, because I signed up with the Aura app back in mid-April. They found 30 data brokers had my information, and I was getting spam calls out the wazoo. I was getting so many junk emails to lists that I had no idea what they were. I was like, I didn't do this. I didn't subscribe to this. And then I feel like sometimes you unsubscribe from those lists and then you get like 12 more. And so what I did with Aura is I signed up and I used our link, aura.com/ATOZ, and you get a 2-week free trial with aura.com/ATOZ to keep you safe online, because it's more than just getting the data brokers and spammers out of your life. There's also VPN, password manager. How many times you sit there and think, crap, I can't remember this password. What version did I use for this? Because I've only got one more attempt left before I'm locked out. Aura helps you out with that as well. And then also credit identity theft monitoring, plus many, many more options there with Aura. So use our link, aura.com/ATOZ, for a 2-week free trial. At the very least, you get rid of the data brokers with aura.com/ATOZ within those 2 weeks, at the very, very least. And that's a win for everybody. Aura.com/ATOZ.
Today's show powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports on the BetMGM app and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Whatever that wager is, if it's $50 wager, $100 wager, up to $1,000, you get it back in the form of a bonus bet if you lose your first bet. That's why you got to use that code ATOZ Sports, and why you have to get with BetMGM. They're the king of sportsbooks. Visit BetMGM.com.
All right, Sam. So asking the question now, what is the most overhyped storyline of the Titans offseason? Most overhyped storyline of the Titans offseason. Let's see. Nick says A to Z discussing first round quarterback picks almost daily, and Tannehill being gone for 2023. So this is Nick taking a shot at us, because I don't think, look, overhyped, like that felt like it was going to happen if the Texans didn't go CJ Stroud at number 2. So I don't think that's overhyped. I just think that it was what it was, and the Titans were seriously considering moving up to 3 with the Cardinals to take CJ Stroud if CJ Stroud was there. And he wasn't there, so it didn't happen. So I don't necessarily think that's overhyped. I just think it was that was a big time storyline leading up to the draft.
Yeah, I think pre-draft conversations are always fair in my eyes, because you don't know how the board's going to shake out. And, as things get closer, you start to get a better feel for where people are going to fall. And there was still the possibility of the Texans not going quarterback, of the Texans going with a different quarterback, of unknowns about where the Colts were going to go with their pick, if they were going to take Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, and what one of those guys falling would mean for the Titans at 11, if they would move up. There was a lot of unknowns that surrounded the draft, and any executive, any general manager, any head coach would tell you that a lot of the draft is undecided until draft night, because you have to see how the board falls. And decisions are made based on their pre-draft preparation. And I do believe the Titans had contingency plans that involved taking a quarterback in the first round, depending on how the board fell to them. it fell in a way that they got a blue chip guy in Peter Skoronski they feel really good about. And then we're able to get a quarterback that they also have confidence in the second round and tried trading back into the first round for. So, yeah, very fair to discuss first round quarterback options because guess what? One of those 4 quarterbacks is a Titan right now. He went in the second round, but he's still a Titan, which lets you know they were at least thinking about it and prioritizing it.
Yeah, no doubt. And they did trade with the Arizona Cardinals for a quarterback. It just was in the second round. So yeah. So Sam, did you see any other comments that we thought was a good answer for overhyped here from the audience?
This is an interesting one. I mean, Wright says Chig, which I think is fascinating. You might be the only Titans fan that's saying that Chig is overhyped, potentially going against the grain here. I don't necessarily hate it. We might have to temper our expectations for Chig a little bit. Orlando said Landry being 100%, kind of maybe throwing it back at me a little bit for being all on the Harold Landry train, saying he's not 100%. We need to, slow our roll on that. Jody says the Jaguars, which I think is really good. Yuri says the D-Hop stuff. I think the D-Hop stuff is about a 50-50 right now. And as Zach and I were talking about on the show yesterday, I think it's a big deal. Like, you could argue to me that DeAndre Hopkins signing with the Titans is an underrated storyline, and I would agree with I think I could agree with you.
You would buy that. You would buy that sales pitch.
I think it's a big enough like, it's similar to the Downing thing for you, where I know it's so prevalent and everybody's talking about it, but I think the impact DeAndre Hopkins would have on the Titans offense this year is so big that, like, Zach and I both discussed it. We had him at 18 in the power rankings. We both believe with Hopkins, they're the favorite in the AFC South.
I agree.
I think it's that, like, it's that big of a jump from maybe 7 wins to 8 wins to they should win this division with DeAndre Hopkins. So,
I don't know if they would be a betting favorite. So I think the Titans would be fairly even in my mind, but I still think the books would have the Jags as a favorite.
Yeah.
But anyway,
saw a lot of comments about Will Levis. So here's my overhyped storyline. It does have something to do with Will Levis. It is just a blanket statement of the quarterback competition as a whole for the Titans, I think, is being blown way out of proportion. I do think there are some elements to competition, specifically between Malik Willis and Will Levis as the backup for this season.
Mm-hmm.
But under no circumstances do I think Ryan Tannehill will get leaped by one of these two guys. I think as long as the Titans are trying to compete, Ryan Tannehill is the starter. You and I went over the situation maybe a month or two ago, looking at the schedule of where the Titans at week 11, week 12,
and the pivot point.
Right. They might have a difficult decision to make at one point where it says, all right, let's get the experience and start, like, punting on the season. But Ryan Tannehill is the starter. And if you're hearing these reports, it's the same few accounts that keep spreading misinformation all over Twitter. They take little nuggets of they take your tweet, Austin, about, hey, Will Levis struggled a little bit today, was a little inaccurate. And they say, super underwhelming, terrible day from Will Levis, really inaccurate. I saw an article the other day that said he got demoted to third string and how this is super concerning. Like, it's all crap. It's all crap. The Titans quarterback situation is today what it was when they drafted Will Levis. Ryan Tannehill is the starter. Malik Willis is slated to be the backup, mainly because of his seniority over Will Levis and his experience. And you have to at least have NFL experience and give coaches some confidence in you before you're prepared to be the backup in case of emergency. And I still think Will Levis is the future, at least to the Titans right now. They drafted Will Levis and invested in him the way they did because they believe he's their future answer. Could that change over the course of the season if Will is extremely underwhelming and Malik takes big steps forward and proves to be a better option? Yes, I think that's a possibility. But this thing has not wavered from where we were on draft night. Ryan Tannehill is the starter. There is no quarterback competition to be the starting quarterback. I don't care what Malik Willis or Will Levis do in the preseason. They're not playing week one. They're not applying pressure. Ryan Tannehill's the starter. End of story. So that is an overhyped storyline. I think local media and fans are doing a good job of being pretty aware of this. But nationally, I read an article yesterday, Austin, that said quarterback battles around the NFL are the most overhyped storyline. And it said Bryce Young's going to start. CJ Stroud's going to start. Anthony Richardson might not start week one, but he probably will very shortly after. These are not buzzworthy. And then it's like, but the situation might be a little different with Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis because Tannehill's in the last year of his contract. It's not. Ryan Tannehill's the starter. Get used to it.
Yeah. And the pivot point, I don't know if we got our schedule here. The pivot point, I think, is probably after that week 11 game against the Jags. Is you have an opportunity after the bye week of Falcons, Steelers, Bucks, Jags to climb out of a tough potential start. Because the first 6 weeks, you've got legitimate teams, Chargers, Browns, Bengals, division, Ravens, right? You've got a lot of playoff worthy teams there, and then with the Colts on the road, then you have an opportunity to potentially climb out of a slower start with the Jags in week 11. And then where are you? Because now it's like, okay, do you want to use, Tannehill, pull him to allow Levis or Willis, whoever, to have opportunity in the last 7 games of the year to get valuable time. So that is the pivot point, is after week 11, where are the Titans then? Are they in striking distance of a divisional or wild card playoff spot, or are they looking for the future? And that's the spot to look at it there.
I've seen some people say like, oh, well, Mike Vrabel doesn't punt on seasons, which is true. But I mean, you have to, like, I don't know where they are, but I mean, if you're 3-7 going into week 12, you can't really justify not playing the younger QBs for an easier road. Like, you don't want to send Will Levis or Malik Willis out there to get in-game experience against some of these dominant NFL defenses, but against some of the easier schedules, I think you can do it. And MB, just to clarify, asked, are you directing that at fans or national media? Like I said, it's mostly the national media / external NFL fans outlook. I hear people from Chicago, from my hometown, that will hit me up and be like, hey, I've heard Ryan, so-and-so might be challenging Tannehill for the, whatever. It seems to be a common practice of people not plugged into this team. So it's anybody that believes that there is a chance Ryan Tannehill loses a quarterback battle early on in this season. That is not the case. The battle has already happened and been won through Tannehill's track record. If you're a fan that believes that, then it's directed at you as well. So,
yeah, I agree. My overhyped storyline is, I just kind of struggle with this. I think it's the Derrick Henry trade rumors. I always felt like Ran Carthon would be putting himself in such a bad situation if he moved Derrick Henry, because of what the fan base feels and their attachment to Derrick Henry. And so I never thought it was actually going to come to fruition. He kind of did the same thing with the Kevin Byard stuff, but I do feel like the Kevin Byard situation, at least from a football perspective, there might be more suitors for Byard in a trade than Henry. And I just don't think that Ran Carthon could have really gotten beyond a Derrick Henry trade from like an approval rating standpoint. And
especially given the return, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of agreed value-wise, Derrick Henry wasn't getting you much more than a 4th round pick, given his salary, given his age, given today's NFL and the value placed on running backs. And so, yeah, I mean, that was part of like the thing, right? It was like, does it make sense? Football I never really felt like it did because the juice isn't worth the squeeze for a 4th-round pick for all the bad PR the Titans would
Yeah,
have
you
got.
got to have butts and seats. And so real quick, Kane has a super chat, says all the Levis hype you, Sam, gave per draft, post draft, and the throwing dimes quote was all BS because if he doesn't hit, the smoke is coming. Like I think Kane,
I don't
you're
I
taking
don't know exactly what he's referring to. I mean, I think was intrigued intrigued by and higher on Will Levis than most. I did not love him getting picked early. Where the Titans got him, I thought was exceptional value and a great draft pick because I believe the prospect, Will Levis, has a lot of really, really fun upside that I've seen in person now at rookie mini camp and at times shine. There are some obvious flaws that Will needs to work through and that the Titans need to work through with him. But you'll remember, Kane, leading up to the draft, I told Austin on this show, even if the Titans draft CJ Stroud, I think Ryan Tannehill's the starter. Like, I have felt like Ryan Tannehill was the Titans' plan at quarterback for a very long time throughout this offseason. So Will Levis not being your week 1 starter is not a knock on Will Levis. It's just what the Titans always wanted to do was have a guy who can sit and develop for a year.
All right, A to Z Sports here live on the show. Time to get to our Tuesday sports trivia. But Sam, first tell everybody about our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute.
The Bone and Joint Institute is the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care at boneandjointtn.org. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust, and you can trust the Bone and Joint Institute. They're out in Franklin with a state-of-the-art rehab facility to assist you in the recovery of any injury, and they have a great campus that's all under one roof. So rehab, imaging, surgery, clinic, testing, it's all in the same spot. You don't have to worry about driving all over Middle Tennessee, going to this appointment to that appointment. You just go out to Franklin, to the Bone and Joint Institute, and see them, and they've got you taken care of. They are as good as it gets, just absolute excellent treatment. I've mentioned before about Mike Keith and everybody that I see walking around getting, and I ask them, oh, where'd you get your stuff done at? They say, Bone and Joint Institute, because they're that reliable. Everybody goes there because they're that good. So boneandjointtn.org. Go visit our friends over at the Bone and Joint Institute.
The BetMGM app is where you need to go as well for all of your sportsbooks needs, and sign up with our bonus code ATOZ Sports. It gives you a first bet offer that you can't pass up because you get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses when you sign up with bonus code ATOZ Sports with the BetMGM app. Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only, new customer offer. All promotions subject to qualifications, eligibility requirements. First online real money wager only. Rewards issued knowledgeable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days. And for problem game sport, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. Time for some trivia. And Tuesday sports trivia, 5 questions for sports, 1 non-sports, presented by Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process by seeing them in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Sam, you are the trivia master. We are all on. Are you playing with us or do you have the answers?
I have the answers.
Okay, so it's me and the chat versus
I made the
you.
Questions myself, found them myself. So Bork says, brace yourself for questions, Master Austin. It's me. So we're gonna do our best here. You know me.
I've retired from being trivia master. It will always either be Sam or Zach. Just
you know me with this this trivia stuff too. Is I am against multiple choice. Right. I don't like multiple choice sometimes. I think a good trivia question gives you enough that you're right there off the top of your head and you're trying to think logically through some things. So hang with me here. Hopefully these do the trick. I tried to go very with some current events kind of stuff going on in sports. I didn't really want to throw it all in one category. So each question is a different category, different sport, but we're trying to be, stuff that's gone on recently. So question 1 is the College World Series. Just wrapped up. Go Tigers. That was such a good
Just
team.
ask the question.
Yeah. What team has the most College World Series appearances at 21 without winning the title?
So College World Series appearances is talking about getting to Omaha, one of the last 8 teams, not like the final.
This is the most tournament appearances. 21 tournament appearances without winning a championship belongs to this school.
So Florida State, Bork and Brad coming out of the gates. Florida State real quick. And there is no Googling. So no Googling, please. I swear. And Matt says the Buffalo Bills. Funny answer. But I think Florida State, let's go ahead and go with that. I know Florida State's a good baseball program. It makes sense that they would be there a lot. Florida, the Gators won in 2017, I want to say. So let's go Florida State final A to Z.
Would you like the answers now or at the end?
Now.
Now, Florida State is correct at 21. The Seminoles have made the tournament more than any other school without winning the national title. Number 2 category is going to be NBA free agency, which, is coming up here in a few days. This is pretty straightforward. Which current NBA player is on the largest contract in NBA history? We're 5 years worth $264 million. It's the biggest contract ever signed to present date. Who got that contract?
So they're not a pending free agent. They're just under this.
They are currently under this contract of 5 years and $264 million, which is the largest contract in NBA history. Who got that deal?
Yeah, I feel like it's not going to be somebody that we would think deserves that. James Harden is an answer. Bradley Beal. I don't think it's Steph Curry. There's no way it's Ben Simmons. Is it Giannis? It has to be a supermax, right? So the supermax means it has to be, and I don't know if I'm right with this, at least, Sam, you can answer this question. You can only sign a supermax contract with a team that drafted you. Is that correct?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. So it's got to be Giannis or Jokic. Has Nikola Jokic been around long enough for this? Nikola Jokic.
You're getting a lot of different answers.
I know it's not helping me at all. Giannis or Jokic, Joker or the Greek Freak. I say we go. I think it's. Let's go with Giannis. Final A to Z.
The correct answer is Nikola Jokic. Gosh. Signed a 5-year, $264 million deal with the Denver Nuggets on June 30th, 2022.
No, last year. Damn it. Off of his back-to-back MVPs, right? All right, 1-1. Sorry. All right, let's speed this up a little bit.
This one's right up my alley here.
Okay.
The Major League Baseball All-Star break coming up here in a few weeks. Shohei Ohtani setting the world on fire, leading baseball in home runs. I think he's got 25 or 26 of them now. Went deep against my White Sox yesterday, and he always does. But which player, not named Barry Bonds, Barry Bonds had 39 in 2001. Which other player, I'll give you a hint, post-2010, had the most home runs ever at the All-Star break with 37?
It's got to be Aaron Judge. I think it's Aaron Judge.
37 home runs at the All-Star break post-2010.
Because Aaron Judge was on a freaking, Bryce Harper. I don't know, man. And we're going to get a Bryce Pujols from Mr. Jones. Giancarlo Stanton would be a good one. I think it's Aaron Judge because when was it? How many summers ago was it that everything was interrupted for Aaron Judge?
That was last summer.
Was it last year? Damn,
well, he hit 62 or 61 last summer, so that was a record, AL record. I hated that, by the way, the AL record.
Yeah, screw that. Nobody gives a damn. Josh Hamilton would be a good one too, Brian.
I love Josh Hamilton.
Titans Kyle says Chris Davis in 2013. Okay. I don't know what to do here. Because there's a lot, like you could say it's Chris Davis, you could say Josh Hamilton, you could say
yeah.
I need confident people only in the chat to say. Confident only. Chris Davis. Do we want to go with Chris Davis? I say we go Chris Davis. Chris Davis, screw it. Baltimore Orioles from 2013. Chris Davis, final A to Z.
So the top 5 all time was Luis Gonzalez with the Arizona Diamondbacks in 01. Reggie Jackson in 1991 hit 37. Mark McGwire hit 37. Barry Bonds hit 39. And in 2013, Baltimore Orioles first baseman Chris Davis hit 37 home runs before the All-Star break. And yes, as the chat pointed out, got a very big contract that offseason, which very much screwed over the Baltimore Orioles for the next decade.
Yeah.
They're coming out of it, though.
All right, so 2-1.
Question 4, the NBA draft, which just wrapped up last week. Victor Wembanyama is the 3rd foreign-born player to be drafted number 1 overall in the NBA draft. Name the first 2.
I want to say was Olowokandi, Tim Duncan, Hakeem. Ooh.
Hakeem Sorry, I gotta clarify. I messed something up here. Because Andrew Wiggins is Canadian. He doesn't count. This is
players, outside of North America.
Players that did not have competitive experience in the United States. So if you played college basketball, you do not count.
Okay, damn, that's tough. Okay, so no Hakeem, no Dikembe Mutombo. Tim Duncan played at Wake Forest for 4 years. Ooh, Yao Ming and Andre Bargnani. Noah says that. Draco was 2nd because he was after LeBron.
Darko.
Sorry, I read the Draco is where this isn't Harry Potter. Yao. Ben Simmons did play college basketball because I watched him in the SEC tournament, quit on his LSU team. So debatable. Yao, Andre Bargnani, Dirk didn't go number 1. Andre Bargnani, Andrew Bogut. Andrew Bogut played college basketball.
I'm going to start counting you down.
Yeah, I know. Yao Ming, Andrew Bogut, final A to Z.
The correct answer is 2002. China's Yao Ming was selected 1st overall. And in 2006, it was Italy's Andrea Bargnani.
Ah, crap. I'm sorry. Whoever got that, that's my fault.
Drafted with the 1st overall pick. Yeah. Noah had it early. Had it early on.
Right. So 2-2.
All right. We are going for non-sports here. Okay. I'm Loving It is a song by American singer-songwriter Justin Timberlake. The song, originally written as the jingle for the American fast food chain, was written by Pharrell Williams and released as a single in 2003. However, the McDonald's jingle was later shifted to what it is now, your ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm Loving It, which was written by which rapper?
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Dr. Dre is my first guess. This is something that Dr. Dre produced that nobody. That's why he's like the most. That's why he's freaking loaded.
Why he's the GOAT.
Why he's just Dre? Oh, of course he would. Andre 2000. T-Pain. Oh, Pusha T. We're getting a lot of Pusha T answers. Okay, I have to go with the people. Pusha T. Final A to Z.
Pusha T wrote a McDonald's now famous jingle in the early 2000s while trying to make it as an up-and-coming rapper. That is correct.
Wow.
So Pusha T is responsible for your ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it.
That's interesting. I like that. That was good. I like when you learn something fun that you can use to just blow somebody's mind later on in a conversation that they're like,
yeah,
oh, cool.
Who would have thought that Pusha T just wrote the McDonald's jingle? That's such a nice claim to fame.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, who are you? Oh, Pusha T. I've never heard your stuff. He's like, well, you know the ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Yeah, that was me.
That's how you make it, boys and girls. Write a jingle by the biggest fast food company in America, in the world, maybe. I don't know that to be true, but McDonald's is probably up there. All right, guys, that'll wrap it up for this Tuesday show. Appreciate it as always. Make sure you give us that like hit right there. Hit us with a thumbs up. There's always more people watching than the people that have hit the like button. So before we head out of here, hit the like on Facebook, on YouTube. We'd like that. That'll give us a big help too. So appreciate it as always. We'll be back tomorrow on a Wednesday. Buck Rising live tonight, A to Z Sports Primetime. See you later. Appreciate it.